Good to go. Look at this a little bit more open than Josh's grill. Everybody sounds so beautiful, and we want to make sure that the internet knows. Okay, cool. Without further ado, I'm gonna do my fucking intro. Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people who listened to the conversation, I hope you enjoyed it and thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda in the fridge. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, hey, what are you going to do? It's all good. It's all good. I offered, they declined. But hey, sometimes people aren't thirsty. And it's good to know when you're not thirsty, because some people don't realize when they're not thirsty and they just keep drinking.
They just keep on drinking.
And it's a fucking problem. But we're not here to talk about that today. We're here to talk about you two. I'm joined by my friends Josh and Amber of Creatures and Creep Rods. Make some noise for the internet. Oh, we also have another friend here today. I've almost forgot. Frankie,
the blue-eyed Lucy ball python. She's here to join us too.
Really happy to have all three of you in the house today. Frankie does have a really small microphone that you can't see, but maybe maybe you'll get some little hisses and slithers in the backtrack later. So for those of you out there in the internet land that aren't familiar with Creatures and Creep Rods, I don't know which one of you wants to take this question, but what can you tell me about Creatures and Creep Rods? What is it?
We are a nonprofit. We plan and promote events for other nonprofits. We like a lot of things and not one thing in particular, so most of our events are pretty mixed up. Music, of course, is a big part of it. Reptiles is another big part of it.
Maybe some horror elements?
What gave it away?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, always seem to get screwed in the end. Jeez, oh man.
Oh, fuck. And, okay, sorry.
We also have been trying to get some hearse-related themed car shows going, but there's just not enough of them, so we welcome all wheels. We don't give a fuck if you have a Hot Wheel, a Big Wheel, a wheelchair. Come on down and, park it out there and hang out. We also have a lot of original art vendors, a few of them that have been with us from literally day one.
So when was day one?
Officially or unofficially?
You think I got a headache?
Unofficially. 'Cause that's the start of something.
Well, there's a history that goes back about 12 years.
Okay.
And then, that kind of began with Chris of Leprosy. I seen this dude working out at the gym, and at the time, the American Heart Association had come in and said, hey, we're going around to businesses doing some stuff. Anyone want to get in and do something? And I looked at the dude and I said, he kind of looks like a guy that would like horror, so let's do a haunted house and a music event where I was working. But I had to take a break from that because motherhood and life didn't allow it. 10 years later, my other best friend, Jason from Leprosy, was sitting there. We were bullshitting, and he said, oh, yeah, it'd be really cool to do a reptile show and then end the night with music. And I said, hold my beer. Let's do this. So 2 years ago in November, we did the first one. There was some suspensions with Only Flesh, some freak show stuff. Well, of course. Gotta love Rev, And then shortly after that, his parents began to run the sub Alpine, and they came to us and said, hey, is there anything, you guys can do to help bring in business down here? And we sat down, we threw a bunch of ideas on the table. He happens to have a hearse. I said, hey, let's try something with a hearse event. But because I like so many different things, it's got to be like a big mixed bag of nuts.
I love the sentence, he happens to have a hearse.
Yeah, he happens to have a hearse. So that's kind of, it'll be almost 2 years since we've started officially, legally, about a year.
Okay, cool.
We're
Congratulations.
We're one step shy of being a full-blown official nonprofit.
That's a lot of work.
And it costs. It costs a good chunk of change in order to do things, to donate all of your change. So
it's crazy.
Go figure,
Yeah, it's really interesting that there's still so much physical red tape to go through for something like that in the digital age.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I mean, eventually, hopefully, it'll become an easier process. You figure if there's, especially nowadays when we're living in a time where I feel like younger people are becoming more and more disconnected.
Yes.
And if like anybody wants to go out of their way to help that's like under the age of 50, we should just be like, please, you know, instead of like being like problem, you know, like trying to put up barriers.
Right. Oh, and it's ridiculous. Like it's, you know, in the beginning, I thought it was just as simple as saying, hey, we're going to do this and donate the money. But that third step is important because if we want sponsorship or we want other people to donate to us, they're more likely to do it if we have that piece of paper that states we're a full-blown nonprofit. Plus, then they can write off donations. And right now, they can't do that. So it's a struggle to get sponsorship in that sense.
Okay.
For that very reason.
Is that part of the reason that you were telling me like you are a nonprofit that helps other nonprofits? Is that kind of part of the reason is because like you're kind of in between this thing, so you're teaming up with other people? Or is it because you just want to team up with other people to help them do something bigger?
I just like helping other people. The one thing that I took away from that very, very first event with Chris from Leprosy for the American Heart Association, even though we raised $1,000 in one night, that was the first thing that I had ever taken part in. We threw it together in like 3 months.
Yeah.
And I think he can agree with me. That feeling, that rewarding feeling of being a part of something bigger is kind of always stuck with me. And, you know, eventually we would like to be in a position where we make a few bucks, but it is a very rewarding feeling just doing stuff for other people. And I can't pick one. I can't decide who I want to help all the time. And that's why we kind of have a mixed bag of people that we help. You know, we split it up, you know, each show is a different organization we help. So
with this kind of stuff, you know, you really have to want to do it over making a few bucks because there's way easier ways to make a few bucks.
Yeah, I could be a stripper or a prostitute or something.
Well, like, I mean, you didn't have to go there. But
yeah, I keep getting screwed other ways. So like,
real quick, shout outs to the makeup and the artist.
Ashley Kroll, man. Yeah. Ashley fucking Kroll. She takes my crazy ass ideas and she brings them to life. And it's funny because sometimes she's like, you want me to do what? And then I get there and she goes way above and beyond and pulls off this magic. And I don't know how well you guys can see what's going on here, but there's screwdrivers all through my face and my head. So,
yeah,
you know, you got to love Ashley.
Yeah.
She's been a support from the newer day one, the 2 years ago day one. I met her actually at the show that I did with my other best friend, Jason, at Spirit and Only Flesh and them guys. And we've kind of been friends ever since. And then when we started this, he said, hey, hit up Ashley. Yeah. She might be interested in helping.
I don't even remember how I met Ashley.
Yeah. I said, hey.
Sorry, Ashley.
Yeah. Hey, we're doing all this stuff and we have a love for horror ourselves. You know, would you like to come be a part of this? And she said, okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of the things about the air quote scene. If you're going to events all the time, like you lose track of like when you met somebody. And sometimes there will be people that you've seen around for like half a year or a year, and then you finally meet and it's like, okay, well, like we met now, but like I've known who you were for a while. There's like all that weird shit.
Right.
Giorgio's.
Yeah, boy. Giorgio's. Shouts outs to Giorgio's real quick. Holy shit.
Yep.
Man, I love that place. Love that place. Really, that was a place that really formed my exposure of the fact that like a local music scene exists.
In the back row pizza place.
Hell yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like, who was it? A Moment of Clarity? Were they like one of those old bands back then? And like First Day Dead, Commit Suicide, Leprosy.
Baghead.
Yeah, Baghead. Oh man, I remember, and then like there was even like, you know, I mean, plenty of like touring bands that played through there, but I remember like the first time I went to a bigger show there, it was Misery Index. Yeah. That was the fucking shit, dude.
That was a good show, too.
Hell yeah, man. I saw Misery Index before that in Squirrel Hill. Were you at that show? They played at that restaurant in Squirrel Hill.
Where was that? Was that Frankie and Georgie's?
No, it was some ethnic place. I don't know if it was Mediterranean or Asian.
Right off of Forward Avenue?
It was on Forward Avenue. Yeah, like by one of the pizza, by like Napoli's Pizza and all that. Yeah, that was the shit.
Nope, that was good.
Motherfuckers don't know. They don't know about that shit. I look a little bit younger than I am, which is fortunate. But if I take off the hat, you'd be like, oh, okay, I get it. Get it, that fucking dude's old.
That was one of them shows that flew under radar, too. It just, we're having a show here, and there was no flyers. There was no event page.
Yeah, well, there was no event pages for anything back then. If you're gonna hang out back there, let's pull this up just a little bit closer to you because you sound quiet.
How about that?
Oh, that sounds a lot better.
Cool.
I want people to hear these stories. They gotta know what the fuck is up. But we were, just through all this time, obviously. Before we get into like more of a deep dive and like personal talks about you two, with Creatures and Creep Rods, are there any events coming up that you would like to plug in the upcoming months?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Let's drop that now.
On the 24th of August, we have the Freakers Ball. What that is Freak Show meets horror. Is it okay if I list everybody that's...
I don't care.
Okay,
go for it.
Awesome.
It's your hour.
Sweet. It benefits Bikers Against Child Abuse. First half of the day from 1 to 5 is the All Wheels Welcome Hearst car bike event. We have vendors. We have Reptile Vendors. Off the Hook is our sponsor for this particular show, Off the Hook Exotics. We have the Dreadnecks coming from New York. We have Bordella coming from New Jersey. Of course, we have Only Flesh. How could we not in that theme type of show? Children of October, It Lives, Horrid Ordeal, and none other than Venus and Furs. We also have Trundle Manor come in, and they're hosting a pinup widow contest. And what that is, because I get a lot of questions, is it a spider? No. Think funeral and sexy. Think maybe you took your loved one out and you're feeling hot.
I feel like whoever asks you that question obviously has no idea what Trundle Manor is. Because as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, I know what this is.
Yeah, I think that they automatically assume reptiles, and they think, oh, so I'm supposed to dress up as a big spider, and it's like...
Yeah, do that, you fucking nerd. Show up, see what happens.
Fucking awesome. And then other future shows, October 12th, we have Hell's Bells. What that is female-fronted bands.
Okay.
Again, that one goes to Bikers Against Child Abuse. We love those guys. They do a really wonderful thing. The kids that can't stand up for themselves, that are afraid to stand up against their offenders. And, these guys go into court with them. They
oh, wow.
They show up to court, they assist them and make them feel comfortable. And these guys do it all out of pocket, so we're just trying to be a part of...
That's super awesome.
Helping our future generations not be so afraid of this big, bad, ugly world.
Yeah.
Same exact concept from 1 to 5. There's the car show. Doors open at 4 for both of these, by the way.
Where are these events at?
The Sub Alpine in Turtle Creek.
That's what I figured, but I didn't think you had mentioned that. So,
Murder for Girls, Lady Beast, Over My Dead Body, A Common Crown, Working Breed, Dematis, Di Gregorio, I believe is how you say that name. I've never actually heard it out loud, and Wolf Blanket for that one. And then the final in the series of the Creatures and Creep Rods car/music events is on November 9th. The theme is the end of the world. Same thing, 1 to 5, car, reptiles, vendors. And then that one goes to the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank. Because I don't know about you, but when I think about the end of the world, I think, how in the hell am I going to eat?
Sure.
I don't want to starve. We're also going to introduce our Stuff-A-Hearse idea for that one.
Okay.
So we're hoping that people maybe bring some non-perishables and try to stuff our caskets or back of our hearses. Something different outside the box.
Can I tell you the dumb thing that I just thought of as soon as you told me this? I'm thinking
ahead.
November. I'm thinking stuff. I'm thinking you got to dress that hearse up like a turkey.
Hey, go for it, dude.
That's not a bad idea. What I'm saying?
That's not a bad idea.
I'm just saying. Continue.
And then, of course, the way it all began is the way it's going to end. Leprosy is a band there. Wretched Hive, Dorandal, Smoke Wizard, Brimstone Coven, Shrouded in Neglect, and Molasses Barge.
Cool.
And then, just real fast, last but not least, we decided for December we're doing a month of giving. Mm-hmm. On Friday the 13th, we're doing a fundraiser for People's Oakland. It's a place that focuses on holistic treatment of depression and whatnot. So the theme of that is depression, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Kind of dual themed, the movie and the depression. That one is sponsored by First Angel Media. So far we have Skies of Terra and Animus on that one. Moving ahead, the 21st, it's a Krampus theme, goes to the Guardian Angel Medical Service Dogs. What they do is they train and adopt service dogs for free to veterans with PTSD. pretty cool, solid sort of organization. We're going to be teaming up with Moto Mutt. It's another organization like ourselves. They choose different organizations that are dog related and donate to them. Royal Honey, The Cheats, Castle of Ink, Dragline, and Solios are on that so far. And we're also doing pictures with Krampus for pets. Any pet you have, fur baby, scale baby, human baby, whatever. So it's a little twist on the whole, photo pets with Santa. And
I love it.
And then the very last one we're doing that month, we're going to work with the kids. I know.
Fucking busy. I love it.
And the shows are between these.
Yeah.
I love it. We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah, we're going to do a masquerade ball for BACA. I've recently worked with our future generation of music, On Your Nerves. They're teenagers they put a show on the other night and they filled the house.
Cool.
So being that Bikers Against Child Abuse is kind of geared towards children, I figured why not do a venue with not children, teenagers, basically, bands. We haven't decided on exactly what the theme is. We're gearing towards maybe a horror or angels and devils kind of deal and kind of let them have like a all ages pre-New Year's Eve kind of masquerade.
I think that's
ball.
a killer idea.
So
yeah.
So that's pretty much all the Creatures and Creep Rod stuff we have coming up. And then, like he said, the rest, he has a crap ton of shows in between.
Yeah, real quick, I guess, we can touch on, like, all this stuff's at the Alpine, right?
Yes.
The Sub-Alpine in Turtle Creek. Drop the address.
108 9th Street.
108 9th Street, Turtle Creek, 15145. And for the record, they donate their space to us for free for all of this. So, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. And they pretty much let us do whatever we want, short of nudity.
Have you tried?
We're excited to see how Venus and Furs goes over with the old heads. So it's one of them situations where you ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
Yeah.
And we'll find out how they feel about.
Might be looking
Venus and Furs, their live show's pretty PG.
It is, but it's a little more R-rated than. Well, we're gonna see how Only Flesh goes over.
I feel like if Leprosy can play in there,
and
doing their thing,
right.
I feel like a couple girls can dance in their little bikini bottoms or whatever Only Flesh is gonna do, or Venus and Furs. I apologize. Or Only Flesh, because they've probably played there before too, right?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
They were there for the first initial meeting when we decided to throw together a bunch of ideas, but I don't think they were quite sold. And then I talk a lot, so I kind of get on Rev's nerves a little tiny bit. I mean, he still works with us.
I think everything gets on Rev's nerves. Everything.
I
think he gets on his own nerves, probably.
I think that's probably accurate. And when we were going and we were sitting down and putting together the different themes and ideas for the 6 shows that we did for the Creatures and Creep Rods, summer and stuff, we came up with Freaker's Ball, and automatically it was based around Rev, Only Flesh, and Trundle Manor. And so I just kind of crossed my fingers and went for it, approached them both and said, we have this amazing idea, but we can't really bring it to life without both of you.
Yeah.
And since they get together, get along so well, rather, they said, okay. So.
I think that's the interesting thing about what the two of you are doing. Well, I mean, there's so much that we can dive into right now, but just trying to keep it on Creatures and Creep Rods and stay focused somewhat. I think it's really cool that there's so many different things that you're connected with and so many other organizations and bands and all of these people. And it's just one of those things where it's like, there's so much that exists that you don't know about.
Right.
And it's really crazy that it's crazy and super inspiring to hear all of these people that are trying to just do good.
Collide together peacefully.
Get all of that stuff together in one place is really, really awesome. And the fact that you're helping facilitate that is really cool.
Thank
and for
you.
anybody out there in the internet world that is like, I wish I could help with something.
Hey.
There's obviously plenty of people that need help and plenty of other things going on. If what the two of you aren't doing is exactly what you are passionate about, there's other things. I feel like you might be somebody good to reach out to no matter what. 'Cause you probably,
absolutely.
I imagine there's like a lot of research and stuff that goes into figuring out who you want to work with and just what exists, right?
Sometimes I just go for it. I just say fuck it, and a good handful of these bands are him going, but you can't get them to play.
Oh, yeah?
And I just go, okay. And I message them, you know, or some of them have been suggested by other bands. A few of them I know, like Leprosy, my best friend Jason, like Chris. We have a love-hate relationship because, you know, we've worked together. It's kind of like that brother-sister thing where it's like, but he wouldn't let you hurt me, you know, but he might want to choke me out himself.
Sure.
Kind of thing.
It would be very on brand for them.
No, very, very. We are hoping on the November show that he gets to kill me on stage where we have to get together and talk about
That would be fun.
Oops.
Yeah, you know, so there's a little bit of this isn't a bad idea. I've always fantasized about killing this bitch kind of thing going on there, you know.
Quick shout outs to Leprosy. They played at my work last night and I ran sound for them. They're really nice guys. So
they are. They're very hard workers. You know, despite whether you're into that style of music or not, if it's your cup of tea or not, they're very good dudes. They have been, I know I keep saying their name, but from day one, from the day that this idea was born, Chris has been there. And even shows that I've put together that are nowhere near close to his cup of tea, he has showed up and supported. They are very, very supportive with the whole Pittsburgh music industry and just their friends.
Yeah.
He even came to a ladies' night only event. He's probably going to kill me for saying this. We had a sex, sweets, and candy, you know, kind of night where it was like, you know, pure romance, jewelry, and sweets. And it didn't do so hot, so there wasn't a whole lot of issues with the men coming in. And his, you know, the lady in his life came to the event. And he started off hanging out in the bar, but then he made his way to the back and
found the DJ booth.
Yeah, and found the DJ booth. He loves kicks, by the way. You know, and again, came to an event that he really, you know, technically wasn't allowed to be at. But again, like I said, support from day one. He knows he knows what a hard worker I am, and he'll tell you that no matter how much I get on his nerves, he'll say, she's a hard worker, you know. And we go old school flyers out there showing people what we are, whether they get it or not, you know.
Yeah.
Up 3 days straight.
Up 3 days, yeah. He sometimes on the weekends, because they're just piled hard with shows, he doesn't get to sleep because he works at night. And I'm like, no, 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm picking you up and we're doing this.
I'll tell you what, though. You always seem to have, like, the calmest fucking demeanor. This is conserving that energy, I guess.
Yeah.
Unless you're in the pit with them. That's a whole different story.
What do you do to let loose, man?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Fucks with me.
Yeah, just fucking
Picks
chill.
on me.
Yeah.
Listen to loud music. Pick on Amber. Got
Yes,
it.
pretty much.
That's about it.
Hell yeah.
Pretty
Just
much.
go to shows, and that's all I've been ever done, you know.
Yeah. So in terms of like, let's take this to the other side because, you know, we've talked about the Alpine a lot and it's definitely not something that we should just kind of skip over because it's a newer venue in the greater Pittsburgh area. I don't know what we want to call it. You know, it's a 25 minutes outside of downtown.
Yes.
Or 20 depending, or 15 depending on, you know, how much of a badass you
drive
are.
Like them, yeah.
Depending on how much of a badass you are and what time of the day and if you actually know where you're going or if you you know, just follow the GPS. But anyways, that's another story. It's a cool place. There's a lot of cool stuff going on there and you've been booking the fuck out of this place, doing a ton of shows.
All the way to November. November is the only month there ain't nothing there.
Yeah. So, how has show promoting and things been? I mean, I guess this works for both, you know, Creatures and Creep Rods and the Subalpine in general, but just show promoting and getting people to come out to things. How has that been for the both of you?
Just by word of mouth. I mean, it's been pretty solid. As long as you have local support, you pretty much get a full house or at least a half a house.
Yeah.
And there have been a few words.
Yeah.
Been like, oh man, really?
You can't always,
You can't ever.
It's so unpredictable.
It really is. And then no matter how, like the one thing I did try to research when I picked these dates were making sure we weren't up against something, you know, big, something annual, something that would just crush us. Because being that there are so many elements, you know, there's the big, huge annual car shows. There's the big other benefits that they do every year. You know, you try to pick and choose dates that we're not trying to compete with anybody, you know?
Yeah.
And we'll do really well, and then all of a sudden freaking Willie Nelson is playing the same goddamn night that you're doing your show, and they're like, really? Yeah, I would have went and saw Willie had I known, just because I bet you that was some really cool crowd watching.
Every once in a while, a show will pop up, after you already have something scheduled, and you're like,
yeah. Right. So it's really hit or miss, because social media, you can't go by what the numbers say on the page, and even when you're out and people are like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm going to be there. That sounds cool. And you're like, oh, yeah. And then you open the doors and it's like,
yeah.
Where is everybody?
But at the same time, there's times where you expect a show to be a complete dud. And
like Friday night, I was paranoid the whole time, because these are kids. They're, they're young adults, and they get their hopes up real high and they get really excited. And the whole way there, I'm like, fingers crossed, like, please let there at least be 20 people, and I get there, there's nowhere to park. They sold over 100 admission, and it was like, and it was the coolest thing watching these kids, up in the front do a pit, jump around. There was crowd surfing. There was a gentleman there that was probably in his 70s. They picked him up and surfed him.
Which hell yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty solid. And as a parent, stuff like that warms my heart, because there were all the parents there as well supporting their kids. And nowadays, some parents, they're too busy supporting their drug habits and things of that nature, or a lot of these teenage kids as well are into stuff other than music and things of that nature. So to see that whole picture come to life was really, not to sound like a nerd, but heartwarming. I was experiencing the feels a little bit here and there every now and then that night, where I was almost like teary-eyed at just watching the parents and watching the kids and the energy and it was really cool to see our future generation doing something other than shooting up drugs or, shooting up Walmart.
Sure.
So
I think that it's really awesome that there's that you were able to facilitate a night where like an all ages crowd from like an underground standpoint could have a place to play that, is like a decent place and not just like, a coffee shop or something like that. Right. Nothing against any of those spaces, but like, or a basement. Yeah. But it's like, sometimes it's like, it sucks whenever like, it's cool to play a space that can fit like 30 people, but to give those kids an opportunity to play a space that could fit like 100 or more people.
Yeah.
They don't get that a whole lot nowadays.
Nope.
And I had there's just not a lot of places that will even let all ages shows happen. And that's a big part of the problem, especially for like metal bands.
Right.
And we came across it. Greywalker was playing a show, and it was one of these things where like we're playing a show and it didn't say 21 plus on the flyer, because it's just kind of one of those things that's like assumed.
Right.
But there were some kids that came to see us and they couldn't get into the show because they didn't know.
Right.
And I felt so fucking bad that like the one kid he plays in a band, and I changed a show that we had booked. I changed it to all ages and put his band on the show.
Nice.
Because I'm like, fuck this. Like, it's like, even though that's only, 4 kids that wanted to come in,
that's still 4
those kids are more likely to fucking like tell people about stuff than like some fucking old people will. So it's like, we need to like, I know it can be really hard sometimes, because like you want to have shows where like you have fucking old people and they're going to go out. It's their night out. So they want to make sure they can have a fucking beer and do this and that and things like that. But I feel like we're neglecting a big part of the younger generation. That's huge. They're the future.
They're the future. Yep.
Yeah.
The part that's going to come from and stay from the first band to the last band.
Yeah. That's a huge pet peeve of mine.
Going back to me being fucking like, 14, 15 at Giorgio's, seeing Misery Index, you know what I mean? I was able to fucking do that. And now look at me. I mean, whatever. I'm here, but like I'm still like super involved in it. And like we need to like give people that opportunity to still be here. I mean, like all of us were here, we were all able to go to cool shows when we were younger. And now I think the opportunities are just a lot slimmer.
Yeah.
Especially for bands that are like heavier, because a lot of places just don't want to facilitate the heavy music, or a lot of places just can't. It just doesn't make sense.
Right. And that was the one thing that those teenagers kept saying, like they did a fest like this one last year, but it had to be in their basement, and 15 people came, and they were like, to get out there and see their first show with 100+ people was so exciting to them. And so, the parents all night long, thank you for doing this thing. And I'm like you said, they need a place to go, or you're going to alienate them and cause them to do things that are negative.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a space to do things that are positive, is my opinion as a parent.
Totally.
I'd rather, give that generation a chance to do something positive, and not be pissed off because, we have nowhere to do this. And plus they're amazing musicians. They played some Beatles songs. They played, what else did they play? They played
a lot of like pop punk stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right. And they're just good. Like the mom, I was talking to the mom, and she said, you wouldn't think so, but these are all like honor roll students. Like they, they hold it down. They participate in sports. They they practice in her basement. They promoted the show themselves. They went out, passed out flyers, blasted it all over Instagram and, so on and so forth. And the proof was in the pudding when I got there and had nowhere to park.
I think, people, this honestly goes across all ages. But I think that as long as you're doing an event that is unique and you give people a reason to come,
right,
they generally will.
Right.
And I find that, sometimes it could be hard with just like the booking shows aspect of things, where it's just like you have the same half dozen bands that have been playing together for the past decade still playing shows together, and it's like, how many people do you expect to fucking come to this if you're doing it every other month?
Right, which was another reasoning behind mixing up the venue mixing up the shows so much. Like I said, let's work with bands that we've never worked with, that have never worked together, and just a big mixed bag of nuts, bringing worlds together colliding worlds together peacefully is kind of the underlying theme.
I think for me and what I do with just putting shows together, I find that the secret sauce to making something successful seems to be from the bands or, a vendor or anybody else that's there. Make sure the people that you're asking to be there actually want to be there.
Yes.
Because if they want to be there, you're going to have a successful event. Because if they're going to want to be there, they're going to want their friends to be there.
Right.
But a lot of the times, like, you might ask a band to play, and they don't want to fucking, they don't want to fucking do it, but they fucking show up anyways, you know what I mean? It's like, show up late, leave early, don't fucking talk to anybody. And it's like, why the fuck did you drive all the way across town to do this? You could have just told me no.
Right.
There's plenty of other people that actually want to fucking be here.
Right.
But it's hard to, like, suss that stuff out until you've, like, worked with those bands, which is a bummer.
Exactly. We've had a fairly good luck with the bands that have jumped on any of this stuff. Majority, I'd say 98.5% of them have.
It's a specific number.
have come at the beginning of the show. You might have that one or two members that had to work, and couldn't get there for the first and stay till the end, because that's one of my biggest pet peeves. I haven't been on the music scene as long as you two, but one of the things that I have noticed doing shows is the people that come and then leave when they're done. Like,
I was
at the very least, especially if there's not a lot of attendees in the crowd, stick around and see these bands play. Support them in the sense that they heard your band play. So stick around and watch this band, especially when you have bands coming from New York, New Jersey, Ohio, West Virginia, anywhere.
There was a band on tour last night that played that show, and I'm not going to name them or anything, and I really don't have anything bad to say about them. I'm just kind of bummed out because, like, I understand, like, they're the out-of-town band. Nobody was really there to see them, but they got a pretty good reaction. The show last night was all ages, so there was, like, a group of, like, 15-year-old kids moshing around. We actually had a hole fucking kicked on our wall at the spot, which is fine. We have somebody that works in the building that can fix it. It's not a big deal, but it was just kind of like, okay, like, people went off for them.
Right.
And, like, they were a good band. They were really nice. But as soon as they were done, they just fucking left. Like, I wanted to buy a shirt, but I was running sound all night. And then, by the time, like, Leprosy was playing and I was like, okay, cool, everything sounded good. I was like, I look over and I'm like, oh, they're gone.
They're gone, yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
Huge.
I would have, you missed out on $20, dudes. Jesus Christ.
Right. Plus, you missed out on seeing some good bands, some hardworking bands that put on some kick-ass shows, some good dudes, or dudettes, whatever, like you missed out.
It's like
you're
not,
already there.
It's not that much of an effort to stick around for another 45 minutes, an hour, or shit like that. But I don't know. I mean, to each their own, whatever.
For everybody out there listening, stay for the whole fucking show.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, from the perspective of a promoter, book bands that want to be there. From the perspective of a band, don't jump on a show if you don't think you want to be there.
Agreed, 100%.
And that's it. Like, and I mean, I know it's good to take opportunities, but if you feel like you don't fit on the bill, or if you feel like you don't it doesn't even matter the reason. If you don't want to be there, don't take the offer, because you're doing the promoters at this service.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be there, you're not going to fucking promote it. And then that's not going to do anybody a favor.
Right. And that's
you can't just fucking we're not in this cultural hub where you could just expect a group of people to be at a show no matter what. You know what I mean? This isn't some fucking 1985 Sunset Strip bullshit that we're living in. Unfortunately, that'd be fucking tight. Right. But it's not. If you want people to be at the show, you got to put in your effort.
And speaking of, that is the other pet peeve. When you have a show and you have 4, 5, 6 bands, if everybody in those bands are helping out with the promotions, and I know as promoters, we're supposed to promote, and that's part of it. But like you said, don't you want people there? And if it's us 2 as promoters, and then you 5, you 4, you 7, you add all of that up, and everybody's kind of blasting the shit out of it, you're gonna get a better turnout.
Yeah, sometimes, but sometimes you don't.
Right.
Sometimes you fucking
sometimes you get 3 people.
You go off the fucking wall, and it just doesn't fucking happen. And there's so many uncontrollable variables to it.
Right.
I think that sometimes a place with the Subalpine, for example. I remember when we played there, we had an issue just because we didn't know people that knew what it was.
Right.
But I think we had some friends come down that were from Irwin, Greensburg area, because it's oh, tight, that's. We don't gotta drive all the way to Pittsburgh, fucking sick. But, any of our Pittsburgh people were fucking North Hills people, you know what I mean? It just wasn't gonna fucking happen.
Right. And that stinks too. I know people were committed to the city venues and stuff like that, but we're really not that far off the map, and it's 1 or 2 turns off of the main highway, Route 30.
Yeah, no.
Ample parking. You don't got to park blocks.
It's so funny. People that live outside of the city are so afraid to go to shows in the city, and people that live in the city are so afraid to go to shows outside of the city.
Right?
It's so fucking silly. You know what I mean? It's I'm not gonna find anywhere to park if I drive to the south side, and then if I gotta drive this Hurdle Creek. I can't walk home. I can't lift home. Like that.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
They both have their ups and downs.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Every once in a while, you get a show down there that did better than a couple of shows you see downtown.
Yeah. I mean, I think it really just goes to, making an event that people want to go to. And if somebody wants to be there, you kind of lose sight of that thing. You know what I mean? I get somebody that wants to see Willie Nelson isn't I bet parking's going to suck. It's no, I want to go to this fucking show. I'll make it happen.
Right.
So if they're complaining about those little niche things, instead of trying to convince them, it's just I guess you really don't want to be there. I'll move on. Talk to somebody else, I guess.
Pretty much.
It's a fucking bummer. Well, what are you going to do? Something that I've been asking a lot of people about, and this is a perfect question for the 2 of you, even though I wouldn't say the Subalpine is necessarily an alternative venue space now, because you've been doing shows there for a while and you've kind of fine-tuned it and got it locked into how you want it. But starting out doing shows there, maybe promoting shows in other places in the past, how do you feel about promoting shows in alternative venue spaces? In terms of do you find it to be a challenge, or do you think it's easier?
Depends where.
Yeah. It's always a challenge. But we are definitely willing to take that challenge on. In fact, we're currently in the process of working with somebody who is trying to turn their church into a DIY venue.
Cool.
And Jonna from First Angel Media approached us and said, "Hey, would you be interested in helping?" And absolutely. It's a little, I believe it's Creighton is how you say it. Creighton or Creighton.
Yeah. I heard about the space.
Yeah, right off 28. And I think at first it's going to be a challenge because it's a brand new space. But now if we said, hey, let's throw a show at the Moose, that might be a little bit of a less of a challenge because, again, you have that foot traffic and people that just constantly hang out there anyway. There's a show upstairs. We'll just go ahead and head up kind of deal. So I think it all the variables depend.
And there's always like the aspects too of doing a show in a air quote DIY space where there's so much more that you have to focus on in terms of like, our lighting and our sound, stage or no stage, load in, load out, like who's managing all of these things.
Right.
If you're doing a space where there isn't a bar, like, okay, are we doing pops and sodas? Are we close to a place that people can go to? Are we doing BYOB? There's all these variables that's like...
Which makes it a
challenge.
headache.
Yes. Versus like, let me just fucking give the moose $300 and then I don't got to worry about anything else. Sometimes it almost feels like worth it just to pay it and just like, okay, whatever. Just fucking show up,
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like, well, that's more money that could have been in your pocket or more money that could have been donated to something that you're working with.
Right.
And the other thing that's cool too about alternative space is that you're able to pull off more outside the box things. Like there probably isn't another space that has the amount of space and the flexibility like the Sub Alpine has where you could do the stuff that you're doing and get away with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, handicap accessible too. So
that's a huge thing I have discovered.
Couldn't tell you how many times I carried people up and down the auto bar steps. And up and down out of the moose.
Yeah, that's a huge plus. We are handicap accessible.
Absolutely.
So to answer that question, I think there's a lot of variables that make it
depends who's playing,
one way or the other. Yeah.
I think it's if you're in a situation when you have access to a space like that and you're going to do something with the space, utilize it to its fullest potential, which is obviously what the two of you have been doing. And that's just kind of my shout outs to anybody out there in the internet land that's listening to this. If you want to, do something at a space like that, definitely think about what can you do? Like if you have a space where it's like, we don't give a shit what you do in the parking lot.
Let's do
Fucking do something.
Let's do it.
I don't care if it's something as dumb as like a cornhole tournament between bands. Do something.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We did me, Gray Walker, and Arcane Haven, we did a show at an Elks Lodge, and we set up like a giant video game projector, and we had the bands play, like we had a video game tournaments for like who would headline the show.
Oh, cool.
At the show.
That's
that was
neat.
fun. So it was kind of like a show up early, hang out, get some beers, it was like had everybody like gathered around, cheering, rooting people on. We had like a Jeff from Bethlehem was the referee who was just like talking and yapping the whole time and everything. It was a lot of fun. And it was just like,
Something
that was
different.
a really simple way to just utilize the space. We brought in a bunch of extra TVs and like consoles so people could just play games all night while bands were playing and shit. It was fun.
That's cool. That's
so it's just like, and it wasn't that much of an effort. It was just like, well, we have this huge fucking space. We're not going to get fucking 300 people in here. We know it's not going to happen. Let's take up half the room with TVs and just fucking use the space.
Yeah, and that's a unique idea. It's outside the box thinking. The one show, the test show that we did at that church venue I mentioned, Suzanne, who is one of the owners and runs the church or the venue rather, she teaches like fencing classes and whatnot. So in between sets, there were people doing like examples of fencing and little mini tournaments, if you will. Okay. And then before the last band played, they offered to give quick lessons to anybody in the spot that wanted to like play with swords and stuff. And it was different, but it was cool to see something, rather than just standing there watching the bands break down and set up and like do. It was something different to see, like heavy metal and big swords. What could go wrong? Hopefully no one gets screwed in the end, But yeah, so, and that's kind of how we are. We're always constantly trying to think of things that aren't done over and over and over and over everywhere else.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think that's what's going to help, keep people coming out to things, giving people a reason to be there.
Right.
And also giving, people an opportunity to feel like they're actually a part of something. They're not just at something.
Right. Which is, I think, is cool. It's important to include when we do a show like any of these shows, I try to greet everybody. I try to make sure everybody's having fun, thank everybody, individually, as a group, as a whole. And I think that's important too, because sometimes you go to a show and it's like you never see the promoter or you never see the person who put it together.
The social aspect is really important.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's a lot of times when, I'll go to a show just because I want to see my fucking homies.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's cool that, I'm seeing leprosy play again or whatever, you know what I mean? But it's not like them playing a show is going to get me out of the house at this point. It's because like I actually want to see those dudes, or I want to see, Feast on the Fallen, or name any other metal band. Like, these are people that I'm friends with, and it's like, cool. Like, I'm going to go see them. I'll watch them play for a little bit, but we're going to fucking have some beers afterwards and bullshit.
Right.
And that's what keeps me going out. And if you are able to put something else in that too, like, oh, these fucking guys are going to have a video game tournament, or these guys are going to do this, or like this is going to this, so I can like help support something. I can like watch my friends make asses out of themselves and hang out. Like, cool.
That's a given.
Right. That's totally a given. And that is the one nice thing I can say about the space too, is the way the space is laid out. I know there's talk about whether there should be an actual stage or not, but it's like everybody's kind of on the same level. And then after the bands are done playing, they can in fact go back and sit at the bar, talk to members of the audience and kind of socialize, and everybody kind of feels like they're on the same playing field, if you will.
I mean,
and
for a while there, I was going to actually make Rich Elder a bedroom in there, because it was either Wretched Hive or it was Shattered Soul.
Rich is awesome. He's one of our favorite people, by the way. A little shout out to Rich.
Yeah. A little shout out.
Was that a pun?
Yeah, maybe a little one.
So, we're creeping up slowly on our hour here. We still got a little bit of time. Taking this conversation just into like a little bit of a fun route. So this is like I fucking love food. I just like food. I'm a human being. What are you gonna do, right?
Wow.
So this is a question I'm gonna ask the two of you. All right. You are either like just got done with this big event, or maybe like you're in the middle of setting something up and like you're all famished and you need something. You need a food break. Do you got a go-to spot for like your food breaks, whether it's like delivery or going out somewhere after a show, during a show? What's the go-to spots?
Oh, good Lord.
Well, for me, since I gotta probably end up going to work after it, I'll end up hitting Permanis with Smallman.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Smallman Permanis is the only Permanis anyone should ever go to. Close second, followed by maybe the Oakland location, but Smallman's the shit. I was just there last night.
Yeah.
All right, one of my favorite spots, and I've been going there for years. My son celebrates his birthday there almost here. Car Hops in Monroeville. It's pretty cool, little themed little.
Okay, yeah, I've heard about this spot. I've never been there though.
Yeah, Amy and Lee, basically Lee owns it, and Amy and I don't know the other employee's name, have watched my son go from this big to.
Oh, wow.
This big, and his 16th birthday, they gave him a shirt. Like, we're there so much. We walk in there like, should we get the extra bacon and cheese out for the cheese fry? Fresh cut cheese fries, way better than Kennywood's. And just
Kennywood's fries have gone to dog shit.
Yeah. And it's just
Don't even get me started.
Yeah.
I could fucking...
It's a nice welcoming environment as well, Yeah. So that would be the unfortunate thing about those guys is they're not open late after the show. So a lot of time I'm hitting sheets on the way home.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with sheets. You gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Buffalo chicken wraps are awesome.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what I'd say. And his parents often cook down there too, and keep us fed and keep our bellies happy.
Or just start a food fight.
Yeah, whatever.
I think you was there for one of those.
That's a themed show waiting to happen.
Oh yeah. Look out.
I'm all for it.
Gotta do, like thrash metal food fight. It'd be fucking sick.
You're cleaning up after, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Just line the whole fucking place out like fucking Dexter getting ready to fucking kill somebody and just like go for it.
Would it be
in theory? It seems like a hysterical idea, but I feel like it would just be like a mess.
Ugh. Well, at least it's hardwood floors, so it wouldn't be super hard to clean up.
Yeah, that would suck. Like icing and stuff.
Ugh.
You can't get that in there. Yeah.
Real quick, is it okay to give a shout out to people that have supported us from day one?
Please do. Please do.
To me, that's really, really super important. I mentioned Jonna from First Angel Media. She came to that first show in November and has been a support ever since. Julia and Jerry from Twist of Fate Productions. Every time they give a shout out to us.
We don't like them around these parts.
No, I'm sorry. I just, they do shout out to us, so I had to say it, but that's
I'm
okay.
kidding. They're awesome.
Of course, Miss Ashley Kroll, the makeup.
Yeah.
Brittany and Neil from Miss Jones Curiosities. They do taxidermy art. She's been there from day one. She's
cool.
even sponsored shows, does everything she can. Lily Six from Rock Ridge Radio. Yeah. Sandra from Wicked Web Jewelry. I met her 2 years ago at the Wicked Witch Festival, and she's become a very, very good friend and is always supporting us in our cause. The infamous Jungle's Edge Exotics. I have to give a shout out to Mark. He owned the infamous Chomp, Chompsburg, PA. Does everybody here who know Chomp is?
No.
The alligator that got loose, the big 5-6 footer.
Oh.
He was our mascot and began this. He's been with me since day one for the reptile portion of my shows.
Okay.
And then he had to take a step back because of
that,
of incidents and whatnot. So now Off the Hook Exotics has stepped in. Jade Dragon Jewelry and her Indy, the big water monitor that I have walked around the lot with the cars, on a harness. I already mentioned Chris a bazillion times. Cheryl Speck, she's been with us from day one. She does some killer music, makes some killer art, priced to sell. And last but not least, Miss Audra. She comes from the reptile world, and she brings Miss Sunshine, the big reticulated python, to take pictures with all the kids and so on and so forth. And these guys have all been there from literally day one, whether the show has been slow, whether it's been busy. So I have to say thanks to all those guys. And I probably forgot somebody, and I'm really sorry. Sabrina, yes. Crazy lady.
Crazy Mel lady.
Crazy Mel lady. She does she does this stuff.
Yeah, she actually did that.
Nice.
Yeah. And of course the guys from Leprosy.
And Horrid Ordeal. Anytime you get in the jam, man, them two are pretty much game for jumping on anything. Actually, Chris was the only other person to know about doing shows down there when I first had the idea.
Yeah.
So it was like I had the idea of doing shows down there, threw it to her, and then I threw it to Chris. And about a week later, there was a PA on my front porch.
And of course, my other bestest friend ever, Jason from Leprosy, my wifey. Got to give that shout out too. So
no, it's important. I think that the really cool thing and the big takeaway from what the two of you are doing is just like building a community. Yeah. And I think that that's awesome to be able to utilize all of your resources, the venue that you have access to, the just the time that you have to put together something like this or things like this, multiple events, plenty of things,
right.
If I'm not going to have you list all the dates again, rewind if you
right.
didn't catch
yes,
it, take
rewind.
some fucking notes. Or better yet, it's 2019. Y'all have the internet. You're on the internet right now.
Yep.
Why don't you tell people where they can find Creatures and Creep Rods on the internet?
On Facebook, because that's about all the internet I can take. It's on Instagram, but we haven't been on there for a minute. But yeah, we have a Facebook page. It's the one, there's two because we started one and closed it down. It's the one that has about 1,500 likes on it.
Yeah, the one that looks active. Yeah,
the one that looks active. Amber Sunshine is my Facebook. Josh Montadoro is his. You can always find information on either one of those. But yeah,
or look up the Sub Alpine as well.
Yes.
There's a Sub Alpine page.
Sub Alpine page also. Yes, totally forgot about that.
That's okay. That's why I'm here.
Right? That's why you're here. But yeah. Creatures and Creep Rods, look it up, message one of us, and go from there. And we're always, always, always open to people's ideas, anyone's help, of course, sponsorship. And like this to me is golden. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
You're welcome. Thanks for wanting to come on.
Yeah,
thanks for what you two do, honestly.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we've reached out, and we're kind of new, so I don't know. Some people are like, meh. And others are like, oh, this is fucking great. And it's like, okay, well, help.
Yeah.
Help. So, you're the first person to give us this type of opportunity, and we want to say thank you.
You're very welcome.
Much, so.
No, I'm happy to do it.
Awesome.
I think that, I already said it, but anybody, what the show is about, honestly, is just, getting people in touch with everything that's going on, trying to make the community, expand it while simultaneously making it more tight-knit.
Right.
Which is a complicated thing to do, but you got to try.
Well, like you were saying about building the community, really, it's already there that nobody just realizes it. I mean, there's people in the reptile world that
love heavy metal,
are linked into the metal scene,
yep.
And then there's people in the art scene that are linked into both, or vice versa. So.
And it's also a way to introduce people to new stuff. Say you're really into the reptiles, and you take your significant other to the reptile show, and they're like, at least this way, there's multiple avenues. So you might not like the reptiles, but hey, you might like the art, or you might like the jewelry, or at the end of the night, we're both going to get to see some cool music, and or dress up for some cool themed stuff. So it's kind of peacefully collides different worlds, and maybe introduces people to new stuff. Or
yeah, and the other thing too is you have, say, there's a lot of people in the reptile world. A lot of people in the reptile world that don't get enough of an opportunity to go to music events or go to car shows or this or that because they're busy doing their own thing. Just like I'm in a band, so I don't get to go to reptile shows or car shows. And then but everybody has those mutual interests. I mean, anybody cool likes fucking loud music, right?
Right.
Duh. But so a lot of those people, they just don't. You give them an opportunity to put it all in one place, and it's like, holy shit! Like, I didn't know you were a thing, and then like, I didn't know you were a thing either. Let's be friends.
Yep.
The other thing is, a lot of people already knew each other. They just never. Had to
the opportunity
with each other until
you bring them together.
Yeah.
And a shout out to all the bands that have jumped on and donated their time and their gift. I can't express that enough, because I know every one of them, I just love to play. This is fun for me. I know it's work. It's hard work. I've never been in a band, but I can see, bringing in equipment. You got to coordinate the date with the 5 members of your band, the
coordinate
practice,
it with your family.
Coordinate it with your
kids,
family, right?
And your jobs.
Everything. So, I can't say it enough, the appreciation that I have that these guys do come forward and donate their time, their gift, in an attempt to raise money for a cause that's greater than ourselves. So, yes, please, I just want to express that. Thank you to every one of you guys on this list that have come and played and donated that time, and especially the ones that have stuck around for the whole show.
And everybody that will be playing at one of the 2,476 events you have coming up in the next 3 weeks.
Well, that's like last year, you guys did the one for Make-A-Wish. That was separate from this.
Yeah.
But we had damn near every metal band in Pittsburgh on there pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a pretty solid turnout.
Yeah. And even though we played last, so it was not necessarily by choice, we were still there. We were the first fucking band that showed up, and we were the last ones to leave. Yes. Not trying to put myself on a pedestal, just saying I like hanging out. I hadn't seen half those fucking bands before, so it's like tight. Right. I get to see some fucking bands.
Plus, you're already
hang out
there.
at a new place.
Yeah, you're already there, so why not stick around?
Drink some Jenny Ice, motherfucker. Right. Get it in. I was fucking doing it. I had a good time.
Yep. And another shout out to Leprosy. They're the same way. They show up at the beginning of the night. They hang out far beyond when they play, whether they are the headliners, whether they are in the middle. They're there for the whole show. So I like seeing that. Like, it's support. There's got to be support in this industry, whether it's the artists, whether it's the vendors, the car people, the music people. Like, you're already there. Hang the fuck out. Stay till the end of the show.
Yeah, and if you don't want to be there, don't be there.
Say no.
There's plenty of other people that would rather be there.
Yes.
We don't need y'all.
Yeah,
fucking
just say no.
Stay at home in your grumpy bubbles.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think we covered pretty much all of it. We shouted out the events. We talked about the stuff. Where you can find them if you want to get involved or if you just want to go out to something. And I think that's all I have to say about that. Okay, so let's outro. And that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. One more time. Josh, Amber, Frankie hiding out from the light. I feel bad little friend. It's probably a little... Oh, yeah, there was somebody else back there, too.
Yeah, there's somebody in the back. I don't know if you can see her. That is Ethel.
Ethel?
Evil tyrant hates every living thing.
Oh. Hey, it's been quiet back there, but I guess it fits the name. So, yeah. Shout outs to all of them, Creatures and Creep Rods. I'll be back again next time with another episode in a few days, I guess. I don't really know when, whatever. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the Beat 2019. Whoop, woo! Thanks for listening. Fade out the music. Okay. We are done.
Nice.
Perfect.
That was cool.